We're here with one of today's Knoxville Raceway Hall of Fame inductees, Doug Brown. And Doug, first of all, for people that don't know who you are, Jocko's Auto Parts. How did Jocko's Auto Parts start, and how did you get involved with racing?
I started Jocko's Auto Parts, bought half of a company called J&S Automotive, and then bought the other half a year and a half later. That would have been in about 1975. And then we were based in Newton, Iowa originally, and there were a lot of racers around Newton. Some of our customers were racers, and that's how we kind of got to coming to Knoxville. And over the years, we developed into keeping a few things for sprint cars, and as the sport developed, and got involved into a full-fledged race parts business back about 10 years ago.
You've told me a story about how Carl Kinzer and Steve Kinzer used to stay at your house once in a while in Newton. How did that relationship happen?
I was a big Doug Wolfgang fan, and I had built a new garage and I was with my friends from Omaha that had auto parts stores over there, and I said, I'm going to see if Wolfgang needs a place to stay during the Nationals. And he said, why don't you ask Kinzers? Those poor people don't even have an enclosed trailer. And at that time, they still had their open trailer. So I went up to Carl, and he said, well, yeah, I might just do that. And then he called me right before the Nationals and said, we'd like to do that. And so they stayed there a couple years, and we had a lot of fun. And of course, they won both years, and that made it even more fun.
I'm sure that was a lot of fun. So Jocko's Auto Parts evolved into you owning a race car at one point as well, winning the 360 Nationals with Dennis Moore. How did that deal come about with Dennis?
Bob had built him a couple of chassis a couple years before that, and we kind of loaned him some parts. At the end of the year, he gave me all the parts back, and kind of got to know Dennis. And he was out in California. I guess first he won the first year. We owned the motors. We were kind of splitting parts on the things and doing things. So he came to me, and he was racing 410s, and he said, I want to run the 360 National. And I said, well, Dennis, I think that'll take your focus off the 410. And he said, well, I think it'd be all right. And I said, okay, whatever you want to do, that's fine. So he went out and won the 360 Nationals, and then jumped in the 410 car and won the 410 feature that night. So that was pretty impressive. So he went to California, raced with Maury out there, and called and said, I want to come back for 360 Nationals. And we were Eagle chassis dealers at that time, and we had a new car sitting there. And so I had some pieces of a motor, and took the pieces up to Lee Nelson and said, can you throw these together? It wasn't anything spectacular at all. And Booby put the car together. So when Dennis came back, that was the first time that I actually owned a car and a motor. And the motor was okay, but he came back in the pits, and Booby'd already put a sign on the car on the dashboard that said, don't come to pits, we have no spare parts. And it was just a shoestring deal that we put together. And Dennis came in, he said, that motor just doesn't have enough stuff to run up the top where everybody's running. And Booby said, well, then that's fine, Dennis, just run the bottom, you'll be fine. And as he got in there and qualified in the feature, and I remember what he started, maybe 10th, and I'm watching, and he's doing fairly good, and he's eking up a little bit, and I thought he's going to get a top 5 out of this. Well, the top kind of went away, the bottom came in, and long story short, Dennis won by a quarter of a lap or something, because it was pretty impressive. But it was one of those cases where you made do with what you had, and he's a good racer, and it was a lot of fun.
What's Doug Brown doing these days?
Teaching termites to hold hands in Key West, Florida. I've got a few old properties down there, and we're renovating them and renting them and having a lot of fun. And every Saturday night, it's hard to find anybody there that knows what a sprint car is. But I watch the feed on Dirt Vision every Saturday night. I haven't missed any of them, and it's really tremendous how much you can see. Occasionally, I'll be talking to somebody on the cell phone in the pits, and they go, I don't know what happened over there, and I'll have to tell them what happened, because they didn't really see it, and we can see it on the Dirt Vision feed. So it's nice to have that feature.
Well, Doug, congratulations on the Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you, and thanks to Knoxville and the whole committee for everything they do.
You're welcome. Congrats.